Farms just lost 100% of their workers overnight. Crops are rotting in the field, livestock is dying, immigration raids are collapsing American agriculture. Americans are about to learn what the actual cost of food really is.
You guys want to take a break or no?
Do you want to take a break?
I mean, I don't want to slow the progress down, but I'm not going to complain. It's getting hot. My blood pressure's getting low. You get out there in that watermelon field, when you start chunking the melons, you're out in the middle of here. I think you're in the middle of the Sierra Desert. It is no joke. Hard work, hard labor, long, hot. We were out there, what? Felt like 2 hours. How long was it?
About 15 minutes.
15 minutes? Felt like at least 2 hours. How'd you think I did? I think I held my own pretty good.
Yo no creo que les aguantaste el ritmo.
Oh yeah. Now once I got in the groove of things, I was just, man, you get in the zone and I started doing the twist method. Did you see that? That's pretty awesome. You try walking down watermelon field. No, I think I'm about to have a heat stroke.
¿Te gustó andar acá?
I don't know if you're speaking Spanish or English right now.
¿Para esta vida?
Oh, hot!
I heard y'all farmers was mad that Trump doing you wrong. I see y'all making these videos. Some of y'all turning your flags upside down and you saying nah, this what you get, farmers. I'm not. And then I heard some of you farmers are actually setting other black farms on fires because you jealous of black farmers because they had to get theirs out the mud, but you need some workers on your. I just find it funny. Who y'all thought was gonna come and work on them farms? Now, come on now. Who y'all thought was gonna come and get those jobs?
All right, MAGA, get out there. Where are you at? You got your jobs back. You got your jobs that were taken from you. Get out there. Get out there and start working.
It's called farmer responsibility or owner responsibility, where they're going to be largely responsible for these people. And they know these people. They've worked on the farms for 15 years, and all of a sudden so I have a great, Ron does, Christie does, we have a great feeling for the farmer and for others in the same position. And we're going to give them responsibility for people. And we're going to have a system of signing them up so they don't have to go. They can be here legally. They can pay taxes and everything else. They're not getting citizenship.
And he says that they're going to go to farms, arrest the migrants, and instead of deporting them, literally to fucking anywhere, the Supreme Court said that he could just send them anywhere. Instead of deporting them, he said they can stay there and work, because how can the farm survive if they don't stay there and work the farm? But he made sure to mention they're not going to get citizenship, and then the owner of the farm will have responsibility over them. Human beings that can't get citizenship.
So Texas farms don't have no workers? I like salad, y'all. I mean, what we gonna do? I'm not going out there. Y'all should have left them folks alone. Now look at us. We already overweight, out of shape, high blood pressure. Now we ain't got no vegetables. I am just waiting on MAGA to report to the fields. It's your turn.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. As you know, I'm your host and presenter Eugenic Stories. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing great. Now, there's something that I want us to talk about, and for the longest time, this is something that has been going on to black people, especially in the United States. Let's talk about Texas farmers. This is something that has been happening for a while now. One thing that I understand, that I actually came to understand, is that black people usually stand on the moral ground, and they get it with all integrity. But the problem with that is that some people will come and take advantage of that because they know that you are always standing on the moral ground. That if you say that you're going to be doing something in the right way, you're going to be doing something the right way. That's why we're having all these communities, after effing up everything, they're coming back to you to seek help. Today, Texas white farmers are showing a plea with black people so that black people can help them. You understand why they're doing this? Because they know the moral grounds that black people are standing on. And they understand that if there are people who understand the struggles of farmers, It's black people. It's black farmers, to be specific, because historically, what black farmers have went through really, really matters. And now, do you really think this is a fight for black farmers? I really want to know what you think about this, because for the longest time, anything happens in the United States that doesn't involve a black person or doesn't affect black person, which had already affected them, but now somehow they used to it. We have a group of these people will always come and ask black people for help. Let me take you back. Let's talk about when people were rioting last year, not last year, this year, somewhere, February, March. You saw how people are calling for black help. Hispanics generally, they were calling for black help. As Palestinians, they were calling for black help. This thing has been going on for the longest time, right? Because of the moral grounds that black people stand on. And remember, because of some things like affirmative action, healthcare, Medicare and Medicaid, and all these things, Obamacare, all these things revolves around black people. Somehow, somewhere, black people advocated for this. I'll be specific. Affirmative action that black people came up with, right? They fought for it because they understand all these things. I mean, impacts everyone positively. But now who benefits at the end of it all? But it is the black voices that were usually wanted for this to happen. Right, so I want to switch this video. I'll be back and then I'll be sharing my thoughts at the end of it all, because we have to speak about this. It's really, really important for us to discuss. I'll ask you, if you're watching us for the first time, I'll most definitely ask you to subscribe to the channel, join our membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. If you're watching us for the first time, kindly subscribe. You know, it doesn't cost you anything to just click the button to subscribe. So let's watch the video. I'll be back, and I appreciate for those who are subscribing and everything that you're supporting me. I really, really appreciate. So let's watch the video. I'll be back.
When it comes to the white farmers who are losing all of their workers and are about to lose their farms, I say that's the way it was always meant to be. You were never meant to employ all of these people for little to nothing / nothing when it comes to your ancestors and be able to make a profit off of it. It was never meant to be the cool, rad thing that your family does for generations to make money. It was never honest work. It was never honorable. It was always tainted. It always involved holding people against their will to squeeze every single dime you could out of them, whether by force or by threat. It was always about that. And it was never right for this country to make that their foundation and their road to wealth. And so now that it's crumbling, we are returning to the original form of what things should have been. So there you go. I get that they work hard and some of these farms have been passed down from generation to generation. Well, for generation after generation, we've had all of the stuff that you have piled onto us passed down each and every time. I don't want anyone to suffer out here. I don't want anyone to be on the streets or lose their possessions or anything. And I don't want anyone to be exploited for their work either. I don't want anyone building off of the backs of people they deem less than human. So if you're already doing that and you lose the things that you've gained, if you're finally reaping what you sow, so be it.
Here's a solution for undocumented workers in America. How about we give them work visas for the specific industry, but not give them work visas where the employer owns the rights to that employee. Make them legal where they can work here with a visa and they can work for anybody so that competition is fair. So that no longer can these greedy capitalist corporations take advantage and exploit undocumented immigrants and pay them in the shadows under the table. Now they have to pay them a fair wage. Now they have to honor labor rules and pay them overtime. Now they have to pay workers' comp, unemployment tax, payroll taxes. It's all on the up and up. Those guys can come work for people like me that will give them a fair shake.
So it's come to my attention that the farmers who literally voted for Trump and voted for their own demise, who currently have crops sitting in their field that are rotting, and the farmers who are burning their own fields due to the crops rotting, they're thrown for a loop. And I guess they're thrown for a loop because they thought that once they got rid of the illegal immigrants, that black people were going to be out in the fields picking their fucking crops. Because they think that we don't have jobs, that I guess we sit around on our asses all day. And I think it's so crazy because they really don't understand that black people are very educated. They don't understand that a lot of us possess a college education, and that we're qualified to do other jobs. They really think that we sit around taking advantage of the government all day.
42% of our agricultural workforce 42% lack proper documentation. That means they should be deported in most people's eyes. That's almost half of your farmer workforce. Imagine what's going to happen when that falls off. Who's going to go work on the farms? On top of that, we don't understand that a healthy country relies on births, relies on new blood and new people. I've spoken about this many times, but when it comes time for us to be on Social Security, it's the kids who will come after us, the workforce that comes after us, that pays for us to be on here. That's what happens. That's how it always plays out. If you have a lack of workforce, you're not going to have the money to put into this.
Donald Trump, don't backpedal now. Now you're saying or acting like you're regretting or that it was a mistake that you did this mass deportation, although you set it in place and this was planned and thought out way before your presidency when y'all were concocting up this Project 2025. You had plenty of time to think about the consequences this was going to have, and you still proceeded with it. So now you're just realizing that all immigrants aren't criminals. Now you want to realize that they are actually hardworking people that have been working on these farms for over 20 years and just want to make an honest living for their family. Now you want to realize that now you have shipped all these hardworking immigrants off to their native land, that us Americans are not going to want to work in these fields for the prices that they are paying these immigrants. Now you're seeing that the farmers are suffering because of your dumb ass decisions. And it's sad because your blatant racism wouldn't allow you to actually delve into how agriculture works and how important the immigrants are when it comes to farming. And now you want to sit on a podium saying something needs to be done and that we have to use our common sense. Don't get French with us now. We ain't got to do nothing because I did not vote for you. I did not do this. So you need to fix this since they, the MAGA people, voted for you.
It is fascinating that you think this is going to happen because it's not. They have tried for decades to try and get Americans to go pick in the fields, and it's failed every fucking single time. So let me give you a little history, okay? Let's go back to the year 1965. And there's a Secretary of Labor dude named W. Willett Wirtz, and he wanted to recruit 20,000 high schoolers and college students across America to go pick in the fields, okay? See, what happened was, prior to 1965, there was something called the Bracero Act. It was put into place during World War II. It was an agreement between the American government and the Mexican government that allowed Mexican agricultural workers to come up and harvest across the United States. Okay, what happened was there was an activist named Cesar Chavez, and he started to advocate against the poor working conditions, the wage theft, and many other things that were going on with the Mexican agricultural workers that were coming up and working. So America, rather than make conditions better, also don't forget this is during the Civil Rights Movement, they thought, you know what, we'll just end this program and we'll just have white boys go pick in the fields. That'll solve all problems. Let's get into it. They launched a program called A-Team. That's right, not the TV show with Mr. T. No, it was the agricultural team. And this was they put ads in the newspaper all across America to recruit. Here's the interesting thing. 18,000 people did sign up. However, only 3,300 actually participated in the program and got to work in the fields. Guess what happened? Problems immediately arose for the A-Team nationwide. Okay, so this is directly from an article. In California, Salina Valley, 200 teenagers from New Mexico, Kansas, and Wyoming quit just after 2 weeks on the job. We worked 3 days and all of us were broke. The Associated Press quoted one team as saying, students elsewhere staged strikes. Living conditions and wages were so bad that they quit. The experiment quickly disappeared into the proverbial dustbin of history.
Texas, you guys are all up in Donald Trump's policies. I hope you guys learn a lesson once you see the ripple effect of the farms closing in your state. What's going to happen? And it's not just one farm. There's multiple farms that's closed down because these undocumented immigrants are scared and not showing up. And the small businesses that rely on these farms, their goods and stuff, you will see the effects. You guys don't think this through. You just run on with your racist, ways of deporting undocumented migrants that are good workers. They're good workers. Now they're not showing up. So listen, Texas, we'll see how that work out for you.
It feels like the people in power want to be glorified slave owners. Like, I think at this point, being a slave owner, that just must be a genetic thing. Because how much do they want to control people? Like, how much control do they want to have over the everyday person? So like, oh, you have to go work. And if you don't work, then you're going to be homeless. If you're homeless, then we might put you in jail. So you have to work for us anyway. You're going to make us money either way. We're going to do what we want to do. Oh, and by the way, you're not allowed to, make decisions about pregnancy, about bringing a child into this world. No, that's done by the government at this point. Yeah. No abortion for you. No. It's like, y'all just want to be glorified slave owners. You want to own people. You want to own people and have them do work for you and then birth more slaves for you and your system in order to make you more money. That literally is just a glorified slave owner. So what are we doing here? Like,
so y'all remember when it was said that we taking all the black jobs? They really thought that we was going to be looking for black jobs, y'all. Now,
have you seen these 3 videos? Let's talk about them.
Talked to told ICE agents arrived this morning here right around 6 o'clock in the morning. We don't know how many people were detained. One of the farm workers we talked to said ICE agents were chasing some of their co-workers around until they were detained.
The farms.
Officials here were in fact ICE agents, and the people working at this facility were bussed out around 1 p.m. today. In the video we captured, it shows officials moving people into this white bus. These people were handcuffed with zip ties. The bus had shades preventing people from seeing who's inside.
Meatpacking industry.
Impacting this construction project, but many others in the region as well. An industry expert telling us that these raids are having more drastic impacts now than in the past.
How does any of that make sense? This is about cruelty, and we are shooting ourselves in the foot. The number went up. It's 3,000 people a day. Elementary school graduations. Courthouses, people doing it the legal way. 6 in the morning. At work in the fields, picking. The logic that Americans are going to want to do these jobs? Like, what's the plan? Who's going to do these jobs? Like, think about it. Like, this can get even crazier really fast. We're like 5 months in. Ay, Diosito.
So you wanted proof that the immigration policy would be affecting everyone? Look at your grocery bill next month and the next coming months. ICE ramped up raids in places like Ventura County and parts of the Central Valley fields in California. They went through fields, they went through houses, you name it, grabbing people up. Now, farmers are seeing up to 70% of their workers not showing up to work, left by fear of being arrested. And that means fruits, vegetables are going unharvested, which means they're going to go bad in the fields. A 1/6 generation farmer put it like this: if 70% of your labor force vanishes, so does your crop. And most local workers don't want to pick these plants. And it's a real worry. Cropland is worth nearly $60 billion, and that could be at risk of going into bankruptcy, being sold off to the next bidder, and that bidder may not be an American company. That could be a problem. Workers themselves are scared. One said, if I show up to work, I don't know if I'll ever come home to see my family again. The bottom line is, this isn't just hurting farms. It could raise food prices and disrupt supply chains nationwide. Be sure to follow along as I continue to provide updates, and let me know your thoughts below in the comments.
If you're paying attention to agriculture in the news cycle, you might have noticed the efforts to expand the H-2A Seasonal Foreign Guest Worker program, or even make it easier to access a program for non-seasonal work. What you might not realize is the chilling effect this would have on American farm workers. Republicans and even some Democrats are talking about freezing, cutting, and even possibly discontinuing the federal adverse effect wage rate. Now, the AEWR is a yearly survey of wages by each area that determines the next year's minimum amount of pay for H-2A workers in that specific place. Protection makes sure that H-2A workers are not undercutting American farm workers' wages. If you seem confused, don't worry. It's actually really simple. The AEWR might seem complicated at first, but it's actually very simple and extremely important for American farm workers. Why is it so important for us to fight this, you may ask? Well, because if growers and their political cronies get their way, not only would the H-2A workers' wages be frozen, but their lower salaries could be an unfair competition for domestic workers. Now, this would affect all farm workers' wages. It would be just wrong for Congress to give growers another corporate subsidy that decreases wages even lower for farm workers who harvest the food we see on our shelves every single day and risk their lives harvesting the food we need. Importing more vulnerable workers, getting rid of the protections that keep them safe, and at the same time lowering American workers' wages and job security is not the right thing to do. Now more than ever, it is crucial for you to vocalize your opinion, so make sure to say no to these provisions which will harm farm workers in the U.S.
So yesterday I made a video talking about the white farmers and how they were crashing out all over social media because they voted for Shitty Bridges and thought he was going to give them back slaves. And also, because of that, they lost 100% of their workforce due to the ICE raids. I want to come here today and I want to give some love to black farmers who I don't think get enough, right? I can appreciate that they are not on the internet spazzing out and crashing out. You want to know why? It's because whatever is going on in the current climate when it comes to farming, they're not new to this because they have faced adversity, not being given what they need in order to be successful, unlike their white counterparts, right? Because they have been spoon-fed everything they've needed in order for them to be successful. And now that that privilege and entitlement is gone because of who they voted for, they're on the internet trying to garner some favor and some sympathy. Meanwhile, black farmers, chilling. They cool as cucumbers because guess why? They know how to handle themselves and their farms during times of crisis. I guess favor ain't fair after all, huh?
I'm trying to figure this shit out with the farmers and the truckers. Maybe y'all can help me. I get it that y'all like Donald Trump because you voted for him, especially the farmers. Seeing as though y'all voted for him twice, y'all didn't learn shit the first time around. And the truckers support him. Understood. But how does that help you and your business and your family succeed in life? That's kind of like voting against your own interests. As your shit rots in the silos in terms of the soybean, as the ships get turned around from China and other countries, and the ones that are coming are only halfway full, and the truckers can't get a load because there ain't shit on the docks to pick the fuck up. How does voting for Trump help you? Because you're getting a subsidy check? I'm talking about you farmers. And because the truckers have to continue to struggle? Is that what makes America great? Is that how you think that you have the luxury of continuing to separate yourself from the American people when you are the American people? And all of this shit is connected. We all need to band together to sit up here and get people in office that are going to support our interests. Us, the people, not the oligarchs, not the rich, not Donald Trump.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. Well, I'm hoping that you're great from wherever you're watching me from, whether it's in the morning, evening, afternoon, daytime. I'm really grateful that you're alive and that God has granted you life so that you can come and let's have a discussion in regards to this, because I feel like it's important for us to come and talk about these factors. I'd like to talk about something, historical context of agricultural inequality that has been happening in the United States. Because if black people today were to consider the plea that white farmers are having, I mean, black farmers could have the plea of what black farmers, of what white farmers want them to do, like they're asking for help. And why is it that everything is going wrong with us, but for you it's not happening? So they are asking for help from black farmers. But there's something that we need to remind ourselves, which is really important, that I really find so much important. I'd like to talk about historical context of agricultural inequality in the United States to begin with, right? The story of American agriculture is also the story of racial exploitation from the era of slavery from Jim Crow, and well into the 20th century, black Americans have been central to the nation's farming economy, yet were systematically denied the rights, land, and capital to thrive. Remember, after the emancipation, black farmers were promised 40 acres and a mule. But this promise was never fulfilled. Instead, many were pushed into exploitative sharecropping systems and later targeted by racist policies that ensured they remained on the economic margins. And this is something that has been happening. After the emancipation, black farmers were promised a couple of things, including 40 acres and a mule, because remember, black people worked on these plantations for free at a gunpoint, some of them being forced to do this, right? So when you talk about the history of agriculture in the United States, we start with black people. Remember, black farmers who settled in these places, they gathered the knowledge, and this is what is helping them to thrive until right now. So everything that the white community really promised black farmers, they never gave them. I would like to talk about the USDA, the USDA, and the institutional racism, the USDA. Throughout the 20th century, the U.S. Department of Agriculture played a critical role in institutionalizing racism. Black farmers were denied loans, technical assistance, and access to land grants between the year 1920 and 1997. The number of black farmers plummeted by over 98%, largely due to discriminatory practices by local USDA offices. In contrast, white farmers received billions in subsidies and support, allowing them to expand and accumulate generational wealth. And what does this tell you? This really tells you that if white farmers are asking for a plea right now, do they remember when the American systems was designed or was put to put black farmers in jeopardy? Because the number of black farmers decreased by 98%. All black farmers that are surviving right now, majority of them are doing what is called subsistence farming. You see, they don't require labor. They don't require labor from undocumented immigrants, just like a lot of white farmers who are having all these large tract of lands that are using it. And these large tract of lands that they are employing large number of people, which including undocumented immigrants, because they are cheap according to them. And right now they are gone. But right now you're asking for a plea for a person who is doing subsistence farming, for a person who is only trying to produce food for themselves, for their family. These are people that their families are working on these farms. They don't require any external labor, right? So that being said, I feel like it is really, really unfair considering that factor. Don't forget about the institutional racism that really happened, and they never fended for black farmers. So right now, do you want to tell me that it is the time that black farmers are now going to be fending for, white farmers? It is just a question, right? And I feel like we need to talk about these issues. I also like to talk about the land theft and economic sabotage. Many black families lost their land through violence, legal trickery, and financial sabotage. Historians estimate that black Americans have lost 12 to 14 million acres of land over the past century, equating to hundreds of billions in wealth. These losses were not accidental but part of a broader pattern of exclusion and oppression. In many southern states, white communities used lynching, intimidation, and legal loopholes to seize black-owned farmland. That's how crazy it was. They never fended for black people. Do you expect black people to fend for this? It is just a question that I'm asking on a fair ground, right? Because we're trying to look at history. Does history say the same about them? What did they do when all these agricultural institutions, what they were doing to black farmers? Did they try to fend for them? Really, I don't think they did, right? I'd like to talk about the modern desperation of Texas farmers. In time of economic strain, climatic change, labor shortages, and supply chain disruptions, Texas farmers, many of whom have benefited from generations of privilege and state-backed assistance, are reportedly reaching out to black farmers and work for help. This desperation is fueled by workers' shortage due to immigration crackdowns, a shrinking rural labor force, and the long-term consequences of unsustainable industrial farming. This is something that has been going on for a long time, folks. I'd also like to talk about the modern a call for help, which is laced with irony. And actually, this is the central topic that I feel like we need to address. The situation drips with historical irony, and it's true because the very communities that once complicitly in or benefited from the marginalization of black farmers are now asking those same communities to step in and save agricultural system built on exclusion. It is a striking role of reversal, but one that cannot be separated from a deep-rooted injustice that black farmers have faced for generations. And if you are really keen, you get to realize that that's one thing that I've been stressing on since I started talking about this. I've been stressing on that for a long time, right? I also like to ask and pose it like a question: should black farmers be obligated to help? And again, I'll be answering from a moral and a political perspective. It is not the responsibility of black farmers to rescue a system that has systematically excluded them. Calls for solidarity must be predicated on acknowledgement, justice, and reparations, not desperation. Helping without redress risks reinforcing the structure that harm black communities in the first place. Any collaboration must be equitable and respectful terms. Right. So I think I asked the question and I also answered it at the same time. I would like to talk about the need for structural change, not just an emergency aid. If white Texas farmers are truly seeking help, it cannot be a one-way plea. Structural change must accompany any cooperation. This includes land access, programs for black farmers, equitable federal support, cooperative models of farming, and long-term investment in black rural communities. Otherwise, black farmers risk becoming temporary laborers in a broken system. Rather than stakeholders in a reimagined agricultural economy, right? Let's talk about black farmers as an agent of transformation. Despite centuries of oppression, many black farmers have perceived central knowledge of sustainable farming and community agriculture. The resilience represents not just survival, but a blueprint for a better, more just food system. If black farmers engage, it should be with power to reshape the system, not just to patch up the cracks of a crumbling one. I also like to talk about the role of memory and intergenerational trauma. We can never forget. Black folks can never forget. Asking black farmers to step up without acknowledging historical trauma is dismissive. Generational pain from land loss, hostile discrimination, and community displacement cannot be ignored. Any plea for help must come with a reckoning, a real dialogue about history, injustice, and what equity truly looks like in rural America. Also, let me talk about political hypocrisy and voting patterns. It is also important to note that many of these rural communities overwhelmingly supported politicians who pushed anti-immigrant, anti-black, anti-equity agendas, only to later decry the consequences when their farms faced collapse due to labor shortages or policy changes. The political contradictions deepens the mistrust and skepticism among black communities who have watched these dynamics unfold repeatedly, right? So if we talk about the case for restorative agriculture, restorative agriculture must include land reparations, cooperative ownership models, fair access to USDA resources, and generational wealth building tools for black farmers. Only then we can talk about shared futures and partnerships. Without systemic change, any help from black farmers risk becoming yet another form of exploitation under the guise of unity. So please let me know what you think about this video. As you know, I'm your host and presenter, Eugene Stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony.